So I'm just going to go through this question that I have here from B2 January 2013, question 5, and it's to do with sampling and data in biology. So the question's to do with two different habitats and bluebells growing in these two different habitats. So you can see I've gone through and I've highlighted the keywords in the question. So you can see that habitat A was a sunny field next to a woodland, habitat B was a shady, moist woodland. Okay, and they're counting the number of bluebell flowers that actually grow on each stalk. So the number of stalks against number of flowers per stalk. Okay, so you can see the charts over here. So we've got number of flowers per stalk across the bottom, and we've got number of stalks across the top. Okay, you can see that if it's a sunny field, there seems to be a greater variation in terms of the number of flowers per stalk. If it's a shadier field, you get more flowers but less stalks altogether. So more flowers on each stalk, but less flowers on each on the stalks together. So it's a much lower number. It's down at 6 number of flowers per stalk, or it's more like 11 number of flowers per stalk. Okay, so greater number of stalks, but not as many flowers for this one. Right. So students want to collect valid data. Valid is a key word there. Okay, remember when anything's valid, you've got to be making sure you've answered the question properly. Describe how the students could have sampled, or keyword there, sampled the bluebells at each habitat to collect valid data. There's that word valid again. Well, if you're sampling and you want it to be valid, you should certainly be random, which is what I've stated over here, and you should certainly use a quadrat. So remember, quadrats, you have to throw them out and they land, and you count from within that, something along those sort of lines. Okay, they allow you to be completely random in your sampling. Okay, so using the quadrat allows you to be completely random. Okay, the next question talks about the mode. Okay, so the students use bar charts to find the mode, the number of flowers per stalk in two habitats. The mode for the number of flowers per stalk in habitat A was 11. What was the mode in habitat B? So if I look at the 11, so if you've forgotten the definition of mode, this helps you out with that. They're saying in habitat A, it's 11, so you can see that's because that's the most number of stalks. Okay, that's where there's the most number of stalks. Well, the highest bar essentially for the number of flowers per stalk being 11. That's where you have the most number of stalks. So if we look at this side over here, we do the same thing. The highest bar is at 6 this time, so therefore our mode will be 6. The students suggested the following hypothesis: the difference in modes is due to plants receiving different amounts of sunlight. Suggest why. So the idea is that there was more light in habitat A as it was sunny. Okay, habitat A was sunny, remember, and habitat B was not, so you get a mark for that. And therefore more photosynthesis takes place. So let's take a mark for that. You can see that when I first wrote this, I made a mistake in terms of not writing a word in there. I only spotted it when I reread my work. So it's key that you reread your work to actually go through it. Next question. Suggest how the students could test their hypothesis for the two habitats. Well, if you're testing that it's to do with light, you should really be using a light meter to measure the amount of light. And remember, if you want it to be a valid experiment, you've got to make sure you use control variables and you keep your control variables the same. Therefore, you've got to ensure that you take the measurements at the same time of day. So in other words, when the amount of light is the same. Suggest how receiving more sunlight could result in plants receiving more flowers per stalk. Well, they're going to end up with more energy, okay, from their glucose they produce via photosynthesis. And that more energy is going to be available for growth, and therefore they'll end up with more flowers.